Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
All right, we'll call it to order. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I don't have any. I don't have any.
All right. Minutes from the prior meeting.
I will accept those as printed. I second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Public comments. No more than 3 minutes if we can. Tina.
Yes. I didn't see in the minutes, anything about our little field trip that we took last meeting. Were
Okay.
minutes not taken while we were out there?
We recessed and went out there and then came back here for any of it. So I don't believe Darlene took minutes while we were out there.
Okay, how does that work? Because I was under the impression that when all 3 select board members are together, there are supposed to always be minutes taken.
Well, it was to view what was out there, and we didn't take any action there. We came back here to take any action.
Okay.
I think that was acceptable. I could be wrong, but I think that was, I mean, we've done that in the past. If we've had to visit somewhere or be somewhere and then come back, but we don't take any action while we're there. If we did take action there, made a motion, did anything like that, then we would have to record that.
Maybe because we went as a board, it should not have been recessed, we should have just moved the meeting to that site. I
Well,
don't know.
that might just be something to check out, to make sure that it doesn't, if we're supposed to have minutes, that if we do that again.
We can look into that.
Okay, and the other thing is, I would like to thank Kylie and Tom Taylor for cutting the brush at the bottom of Mill Hill. It was getting very dangerous to pull out, and I almost got hit there once. And I thought at the June meeting that it was asked to have those clipped, and it did not happen, so they did it this weekend, and I'm very thankful they did.
I know that they cut the stuff at the top of Mill Hill,
They did not do the,
at the bottom.
where it comes on to Brookline Road.
Okay. I know they cut it the next day or two after that. Your mom had said something about that. All right, anything else?
That's it.
Well, I got the same thing.
Okay.
I'd like to know if any one of the selectmen could tell me what I wrote to has done in the last 30 days. Because Bemis Hill ain't been fixed. There's a wash on Cemetery Hill with sand that's plugging new stone drain ditches that they did. None of the brush got cut. A little bit on top of Mill Hill. The big signs right top of Mill Hill come in towards Kingsport, you can't even see them, the big arrow sign. Up on the other end of the Reed Road, if you pull out there with a truck, car, or anything, you cannot see the top of Bemis Hill. And I can't see where they've done anything. And I'd like to know if there's something you can tell me what they've done in the last 30 days. Been 30 days for them to fix them 3 spots that was mentioned and nothing is done.
Well, I do know they did the top of Mill Hill.
I do know that.
And I talked to Matt about the side of Bemis Hill there where it can be breaking off there and stuff. And he talked about doing that when they're doing the stone lining of the ditch down through there. So that I know.
I don't know, but I can take a look and see what's on time sheets.
No, I mean, he was on vacation for a week and that.
Well, while he was on vacation for a week, the other one sat in the easy chair in the garage door for 3 days, never moved.
Okay.
I just think it's kind of funny we spent $157,000 and we're just letting the water wash it right down the hill. Take them probably 20 minutes to fix it.
Wouldn't take long.
Wouldn't take long. Up one side and down the other, that's all it would take.
Public comment?
Nothing necessary.
A couple of things, just a reminder that the emergency committee will have a report for when that town and committee reports come up. Also, I got an email from Darlene that I wanted to pass on to you because I know really nothing about it. About applications for the local hazard mitigation plan development. So I will give you a copy of that email so you can see it.
No, I applied for this, for the grant for that. But yeah, we applied for that. So. Anything
Okay.
else for public comment?
That was it.
Okay. Public comment.
Yeah, well, I took a ride down Brookline and I saw where all the ledge was cut back away from the road and the road was widened down south of the Beaver Pond. And I think it's a great improvement to that area of the road. It's wider, it appears it's gonna be safer. The runoff of the water will, I think, help improve the water quality that's running off of there. And I don't know what's going on in this town, but I don't know, the last many select board meetings, all it is a gripe session about the way the road crew is doing their jobs. And to me, I've never seen the roads better, and I've never seen more improvements to the roads in all the years I've seen them. So I don't know why all this stuff comes up every month attacking the road crew.
Okay. All right. Bonnie? Don?
No,
Public comments? Gary, public comments.
Did something happen to the floor here?
He got mopped.
Oh. Why is it looking wet?
We have a lot of condensation coming up from around below.
It's been humid, so it took a little bit to dry.
There could be air seals, but it would require a little bit of money.
Was there, at the last meeting, I believe you mentioned that you were gonna talk to the, Matt about the mulch and if they were needing it for anything? Because there was that discussion about how much mulch someone was allowed to take and whether or not to be restricted, and I believe the outcome of that was that you were gonna see if they needed it for anything, so I was just wondering if those discussions were had and how those went.
I did talk to Matt. He said that yes, he needed that, some of that, some of the mulch there. We also talked about bringing it up, and we'll bring it up on the boards and officials about maybe making a policy as to what people can have and not have, opening it when it's open and ready to have and stuff. So. All right. Anybody else for boards for public comment? If not, we'll go to boards and officials. Tim, you said you had something.
Yeah, the emergency committee met a week ago, and I took you up on your suggestion of getting in touch with the LCT about the liability issue around the school. And they assured, with the woman I talked with, and I have a copy of correspondence with, subsequent correspondence with her, assured me that we were covered because the school is a town-owned property, and so that we would be covered with the housing of animals during an emergency.
Okay.
So here, I'm going to give Darlene a copy. I don't know where Darlene keeps records of such things, but
Well,
here's
maybe
a
you should
copy.
put it right
And I'll put a copy in the emergency box as well. The major part of our meeting had to do with talking about the climate crisis and what we as a committee might see ourselves doing in terms of helping our neighbors, better preparing our town for what is obviously coming down. We were very well aware of what was going on in the Northwest with the heat wave that folks suffered out there. And that became a primary topic of conversation of what we could do in the event of a similar kind of heat wave with temperatures way up, bordering on or over 100 and killing people, or hundreds of people. And the idea that arose not only in terms of providing a heat shelter, but also going back to the business of our animals, is doing something about the school. I think the committee was unanimous that the school is an ideal place for attending to both of those needs, and also would serve other purposes such as a community center, but our concern is more the housing of the animals and the heat shelter. So what we wanted to do tonight was to propose to the select board the formation of an official school restoration committee that would look into what would be involved in, first off, repairing the roof that is in need of repair at the school, as well as looking into such matters as air conditioning that would be for the shelter, as well as a backup propane system for heat purposes. So we wanted to get that, we wanted to put that out there as a proposal from the committee. We haven't got answers for you as to what would be involved in this, because that would be a committee's job, and didn't come here to answer questions, well, how would you fund this and that. We had certainly ideas of how we would go, how we could see that. But we think the first step, and we think it's an important step, is that unlike the emergency committee, which I think is good that it is an unofficial committee, I think that the committee felt that it would be much better if this school restoration committee would be an official town body that would have accountability to the select board, much as other official committees do.
Well, the only, I would probably change the name of it. I mean,
well,
it's not, I'm not thinking that we're looking to making it, you know, restore the school there and having the school there, but to make a plan on what to do with the building and how to best use the building, something like that would be, you know, instead of saying a school restoration committee, you know, and then people think, well, we're going to try and put the school back in there.
I'll leave the name up to you and the committee. I'm sure the select board, I'm sure the three of you can come up with a good name.
I think that would be a reasonable thing to do.
Yes, and I know a few months ago, you had mentioned possibly the SU wanting.
But they have not.
They have not yet.
They have not made contact.
I'm sorry,
The supervisor.
Denise, what did you say?
The supervisory union at one point had contacted David about renting the school for on a permanent basis, and I didn't know if that was something that was.
They have never got back to us on that, but they were looking for options for special ed to use the school for that, so.
This is a valuable, and maybe the most valuable asset in the town that has potential possibilities. I know that I've been part of conversations in the past where people have talked about it would be lovely to have a real community center in which social events could be held, for example, musical, dances, stuff like that, as a way of bringing something to the town that I think many of us feel the town lacks at this point. But in addition to that, I think the more immediate need is around the emergencies that we're anticipating that we're going to have, where we need to house domestic animals or provide shelter for the many people in this town who don't have adequate air conditioning or what have you in the event of a storm. I think that the thing I'd like to add about this meeting that we had, I was very, very taken with the quality of the meeting and the people that were there. To a person, they all take the climate crisis serious, which is to me very refreshing as a person who's worked on this topic for many years and run into a lot of frustration getting people to acknowledge the reality that is staring us in the face. So I want to publicly thank the committee for not only stepping up to the plate in terms of acknowledging this issue, but also coming up with ideas as to what we can do about it, and focusing very specifically on the issue of heat rise, which is for any of us who are aware of anything in this world, are aware of what has been happening and continues to happen, not only in the Northwest, but around the world, where temperatures are going very, very high and are deadly. And I feel like I would like to be part of an effort to help our neighbors do what we can to protect them against that.
Now, was the emergency committee thinking of operating a shelter for a heat emergency? Was that part of what?
That was not a,
No, not
that was not something, I mean, it's not out of the question, of course, but again, David, to go back to something I said a moment ago, we didn't get into the weeds about this and that, and I'm in no position anyway to really address those. I think there's a lot of questions that the committee would have to begin addressing, and would make that the part of a monthly report to the select board as to what we're coming up with. I say we, I already see myself on it.
And I'm assuming, to renovate that town-owned building, for that purpose, I'm sure there might be grants available.
You sure what?
Grants available.
Yes, that's one of the things that we feel, is that it's sort of the, how do I say this, the silver lining of climate, is that there's monies that are becoming available. And there might be COVID monies available too. I mean, I think these are things to look into. One of the things is, how much did the town suffer in the way of financial loss because of COVID? I don't know whether that's an issue that you as a select board have addressed. But again, I think there are ways to do this, and certainly, I can only speak for myself, would like to do this at a minimal expense to the taxpayers. I feel like I would not want to say, well, this is going to be a taxpayer expense. We may put something into the budget request for 2022 or what have you. I mean, I'm just talking again off the top of my head, not the top of anyone else's. But again, I feel like looking into alternative funding is the way that I would like to see us go.
So what I would ask of you, Tim, is I'll make a motion here tonight about forming a committee, but I would ask that you find people that want to serve on this, that we get a good broad section of people,
yeah,
that we understand that it's going to take time, it's going to take energy, it's not just one meeting and
oh God, no.
and done, and get people that will commit to that, to come back to the next select board meeting in August, and then we appoint the committee at that point in time.
Well, I think one of the ideas we have is to really advertise the fact that there is such a committee that is forming, and to have people step forward who are interested in serving on this. I dare say that maybe...
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. I want you to beat the bushes to get people
yep.
that will come in, that will serve on it, that will
right.
give us the answers, give us the information that we want and need.
Yeah.
So, but I don't want people to think it's going to be a once and done. It's going to be.
Well,
it's going to be a.
I think it should be one of the most challenging committees that we have. I mean, certainly the budget committee is a very active group that meets regularly.
Yeah. Just for your own sake, when you go home tonight, the meeting house committee is much harder. I think you should say that right.
For my own safety and well-being.
For your own safety and well-being, I think you should say that.
It's funny how I watch her do all that she does, and we all know that's a lot, and I probably have a bird's eye view of that. But things just keep moving.
Yeah.
And I hope we can emulate that.
So I will make a motion that we.
Can I ask a question
Yeah,
before
go
we go
ahead.
there? I just am concerned that while I'm on board with everything that was just discussed, the idea of it taking a long time has me a little nervous, because as I understand it, there's a leak in the roof up there. And I would rather see us take a quicker step to deal with that rather than having...
I'm not saying that we won't if there's...
Okay.
I think the leak is fixed.
Okay.
That was up there. It may not be, but I think it is. Tom, you know? I think it was
It's leaked
fixed.
for like 10 years, so.
There is one spot there that was leaked, but I think.
And
that
I
it
think
was-
you'll find it to boil.
It very well could be. But I'm not saying that we wouldn't get onto it and start the project, but I just don't want people to think it's 1 or 2 meetings
No,
and then
right,
over and done.
absolutely.
So-
But I think that in the meantime, it would be good to get that roof assessed, to know what the situation is. I don't know if that's happened.
I thought that the hole was, the leak was fixed, but we can certainly look at that.
Uh-huh.
So the school board was supposed to do something about it quite a while ago.
And because we've gone up in there to see it, and I thought that it was dry where,
Well, where it leaks, when it leaks right down and comes right in the hallway where the 2 bathrooms are.
yeah, right near the top of the stairs.
Yep.
All right, so I will make a motion that we add it to the agenda for next,
Sherry has another question.
oh, Sherry?
Yeah, so to just follow up on that as well, I did look into the COVID money, and I saw that the town has about $22,800 and some odd dollars available to be requested. So I'm interested in knowing if that could possibly be utilized, if in fact there is roof work that needs to be done up there. Has that money been requested, and is there a plan for it?
There is a plan, and there is we're going to be working on that shortly here, so. But my motion will be for on the next agenda to appoint a committee to deal with the issues of the rehabilitating the former schoolhouse and uses of it as the committee. And we will discuss the committee and what we want them to do and bring it forward, what the ideas that you have as we're doing it next month for that. Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
David, I just would like to, I'm a little bit remiss in not having done this earlier in my presentation, but Lynn couldn't be here tonight, and as you know, she's an active member of the emergency committee and was very active in the conversation that we had a week ago about this whole matter. And she just asked me to read the following statement, which is brief because she's at a school board meeting. She said that she apologizes for not being able to be here, but as part of the emergency committee, she wanted to voice her support of the committee's request that the select board consider creating a committee to look into the repair needs of the former school building and make plans to start maintaining this building. She says, I consider it a valuable resource to the town as a meeting place in the community and the community center. And she cites her experience with the Vacation Bible School in which they were able to use that building in the past. So I felt like I need, Lynn is, as I said, so we all know how conscientious she is.
Yes.
And I wanted to get her statement into the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, but I would ask you to kind of put it in the Athenian while the.
Oh, Athenian,
But work
the
on,
Facebook, we'll get it to Sandy's, put in the Facebook and the.
work on getting people that want. to
Yes, exactly,
participate.
yeah.
There
Okay.
will be an email going out in the opinion with a few update kind of things, not an actual newsletter, so I can certainly include that. And if there's anything else that the board would like communicated to the people on our list.
Okay. All right. Boards and officials.
One quick question, are you thinking of a size for this committee?
I think we see how many we get, and I don't think we need to limit the size of it. People that want to participate should be allowed to participate.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Jerry, boards and officials?
Yeah, so another big thank you to Don Capencelli, who has moved forward on the last little bit of work that needed to happen up in the trusses. Along with that, thanks to Matt Levine for helping him move some boards around so that he's ready to do that. The section 106 NEPA review document was submitted, and I haven't heard anything back yet, so I'll keep my fingers crossed that that's all good. As I think I've said multiple times before, we are waiting for their approval on what it is that we can do, particularly with regards to the windows. the question on whether the windows are reproduced or restored. So the document that I submitted basically indicated that we were looking to restore windows where viable, and if not, do reproductions, and put a lot more detail in there for that. But so I'll be waiting to hear back on that. We are holding a concert on the 8th of August, and I have some posters here. Darlene was going to leave these with you so you could put them up. But I'll have an extra one, so I'll leave these for Darlene and bring one up here for you guys. And with that, we are, I think I mentioned it last month, we are auctioning off a cord plus, it's probably at least a cord and a half of cut firewood. And I'm sorry, we're raffling off a cord plus of cut firewood. But in the meantime, we also had Matt Stickney donate 40 rough cut hemlock lumber boards for us. And what we've decided is that we're going to auction those off. We're going to do a silent auction on that. And so what I was hoping I could do was to bring a box down here and a bunch of bid forms that a person could fill out and submit a bid for it. We're going to be putting it online, so it's going to be something that you can do a Google form with and submit a bid online, or submit it on paper, and we'll catch up with them and get them into the list to see who the winning bid will be. The lumber is valued at a little over $400, so we're starting the bidding at $100, and it's a silent auction, so you can submit a bid up anytime up until the 15th of August, at which point noon on the 15th of August will determine who is the winning bid.
So it's 1-inch boards?
Pardon me?
It's 1-inch boards?
It's 20 2x4x6 and 20 2x4x8. So there's 40 boards altogether. And it's rough cut hemlock.
Okay.
Is it green or is it dry?
That's a good question. I will find that out.
It'll be green, because he's sawing it.
He's sawing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably green, yep.
Okay, well, good. Anything else?
I don't think so. I told you last month that I'll be down at, or we, committee members, will be down at the History Fair on the Common in Newfane on August 14th. And I think that's about it.
Okay. All right. Don, anything boards and officials?
Cemetery. Meeting in September. Hasn't been much activity for various reasons, but I had up to $500 in plot sales between the Valley Cemetery and West Cemetery new section combined, so it's been a pretty good year so far for that.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Darlene, anything but boards and committees?
No.
All right. We will bring up the matter of the BRIC funding. And do you have the wording of the motion?
Yeah, it's in that paper that Darlene gave it to you.
This one. Yep. Do you want to make the motion?
No, you can. No, I don't think that's the right one.
That's not the right one. All right, I move that the town of Athens accept its allocation of Corona Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, CCLIF, from the U.S. Treasury, along with the awards, terms, and conditions, assurances of compliance with the civil rights requirements that are required of accepting these funds. Is there a second to that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then I move that we appoint Janet to serve as a town authorized representative as required by the coronavirus local fiscal recovery funding from the U.S. Treasury to sign the awards, terms and conditions and assurances of compliance with the civil rights requirements. And I move we name Janet a contact person for the town with a CLRFR award from the U.S. Treasury. Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
So David, was that three,
Three, yes, 3 motions.
and we only have, the requirement by, you have a date?
Requirements by, and I believe it's today's date.
Okay, so it'll be August.
No,
No,
July
it's July.
15th.
July 15th.
David, what exactly is this appointment for?
This is accepting the money from the federal government that we have to just, we have signed up for it. Darlene signed up with the state last month. We have to make a proclamation that we will take their money, and that's what this is for that. And Janet will be the one just to sign the papers and interact with them.
So is that the 22,000 that Sherry was talking about?
I think 22,000 is half of it, which will be, isn't?
Yeah, 22.8 is half of it this year, and then next year, there's another 22.8. And we have up until the 2026 to
Spend the
spend
money.
it.
And
if we-
what is it earmarked by the state, what we have to spend that money on?
There are conditions to it, but not a ton of conditions to it, so. But this is not making it up that we are deciding how we're going to spend that money now. This is just getting it so that we can accept the money from the federal government.
And you need someone different than the treasurer to accept it?
We need a contact person other than that.
David, I'm confused, is that earlier that the 22,000 that Sherry mentioned has been spoken, but no, it hasn't. So it's open?
We are accepting the money, with these motions, we're accepting the money. We
Okay.
signed up online to get the money, we have to make these motions to say that we're going to.
So even unofficially, there hasn't been any decision as to how to spend that first 22,000?
No, we've made no decisions on
Okay.
how to, but we have to do this to accept it.
Right, I
If we
understand
don't do
that. I understand.
We won't.
I just wondered whether on a less official level, I know you have to designate something eventually,
Yes.
but that you haven't even done it on an unofficial, okay, that's all I
And then
wanted.
do we have to do the same motion again next year, or do we automatically
I
get the
think
second
this is
time?
once
This is once,
and done, I believe.
but in October, there's a lot of paperwork that has to be filed.
And you have until 2026 to spend it,
Yeah.
And if you don't spend it by then they get it.
then they get it back.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we can spend it by then.
Yes.
So once we, back to Sherry's question, once we get a committee for the restoration of that building, is that something the committee could suggest that money goes towards, so it doesn't become a taxpayer burden to fix the roof and all the, whatever else it needs?
There are other
Grants available.
funds through COVID for municipalities for structural other than this, too, so diving into that. Maybe, I still have
It could go a long ways towards helping to fund, especially the precedent you take right now for
There's, all the grant money for COVID is online.
is online.
So,
All right? Yep.
Yeah, I know that we were talking about grants and we paying for them, right, grants?
Yes.
Would it be maybe, is it within the limitations of this fund to maybe like pay someone like that? So like out of these smaller funds, we can make bigger funds for the town to pay for things?
There have been talks about using funds like this as matching funds. If you get other grants, we will have to match them. These funds as matching funds. So it's not unlimited how we can use this fund, but it's pretty broad.
So can those be used as matching funds?
They can. That's what I, but maybe not.
That's what I'm saying.
That's money. Well,
I do know you can't use a,
you can't use one grant, but this may not be specifically a grant. There, plus or I don't think that everything worked out on this, because a month ago it was a point 7 out and then cut it back. And going back to this, so
I also was looking at a pretty, I thought, detailed listing of the kinds of things that the funds could be used for and couldn't be used for, and because I was looking with that building in mind, and infrastructure in general did not seem to be just open and available to use that money for. It was really talking a lot about like storm mitigation kinds of issues. It didn't sound like you could just do, your town office building or your community center or something. So I'm just curious if that's not an accurate understanding?
I don't know.
Not apply for it, but how you write it up. Because I watched the webinar meeting, and there were some suggestions on how different things you could apply it to and stuff.
So specifically how you apply is specifically how you can spend it.
Yes.
So if you put in your write-up that you wanted to use it to make upgrades to our building, then you could do it, but if you didn't put it in there, then you couldn't?
It's
The way I understood what I read was that you might have a leeway in what you can do with the funds if you are actually documenting loss of revenue under COVID. But I don't know what the town's situation was in terms of loss of revenue. And if there was no loss of revenue that you're recouping, then you might have a lot more restrictions on what you can and can't do with the funds. Again, I did not really study it carefully, but that's kind of what I gleaned from looking it over.
David, I just wanted to clarify also, while we're talking about grant writing and getting help and all that, I recall at our last select board meeting, the name of my good friend Gary Fox came up as someone who's involved with you at this point. Is that true? You being the select board, is that true?
We passed a motion last meeting there to the budget committee. He's been to a budget committee meeting. didn't he?
yes.
So he has a fairly formal relationship then with the town?
We have discussed that, we have voted for that, we have not come up with a contract or anything.
Okay. The reason I ask is just whether Gary would be available to someone like this new committee to help in the business of fundraising.
Yes, I would think that would be.
Okay.
I was wondering what kind of process y'all had in mind, if at all, about how the money is getting decided and how, and like what will be that we are applying for when we apply?
We haven't really we haven't gone through that. We're trying to get it so that we were just able to sign up at the end of last month, and we did that. We have to do this. Get the money, pass the 3 motions. But the mechanics of what we're going to use it for, how we're going to use it, how we're going to apply to it, we have not delved into yet.
Okay. So we don't know what committee is gonna go under or anything, or how the Thank you.
All right, anything else for boards and officials?
I'm just going to follow up on Rich's question because I'm curious as to the time frame of that, and will we possibly be coming to a board meeting a month from now and hearing that you applied and that you're doing X with the money, or that you applied in this manner so that you can do X, Y, and Z, or will that be discussed in a board meeting before that process happens?
It would all be discussed. I mean, we're not going to come here and just say this is what it's going to be. Have a discussion as to what we're going to apply for and go for and decide to do with it.
But when you filled in the paperwork for what we just
that is the money that was appropriated to the town through the state from the feds. But it does not say what we're going to use the motions. It's just saying that we're going to take the money.
But Janet said that when you fill out that money, you had to have certain wording so that you could use it for
Yes,
certain
when
things.
we apply when we get the money, we haven't got the money yet. To apply for that, we're going to have to spell out what we're using the money for. You remember revenue sharing back in the day? We would have to say what that was for and how that was for.
So,
and things like that.
then I misunderstood what was being said, because I thought she already filled out paperwork to apply for the $22,000, and that's why we're taking these motions tonight, because paperwork was already filled out to apply.
Darlene filled out, and we mentioned at the last meeting,
Yeah.
that we had gone online and filled out so that we could get this money.
It was a certification online.
Yes.
So you didn't at that point have specific wording to say what it was
No.
for?
No.
Okay.
No, and I don't think anybody's got the specific wording from any of the towns. Because if you read about it, most of the towns are coming at it such as we are. You can see news articles and things on VLCT that, they're wondering what they can do and what they can't do. Even up to last week, people were talking about that, so. But this is just saying that we want the money, we'll take the money, and then now we will go forward and determine what we're going to use the money for.
So I was confused like Denise, because I thought they were just gonna give you this money. So you were
They
just
are.
saying that you're gonna.
They are.
But I'm still confused, because how are they just gonna give you the money and not know what you are gonna spend it for? Because once you have the money, how are they gonna
They
stop
aren't
you
going
from
to just send it
spending?
to us. They aren't going to just send it to us. We have to say,
They're gonna have to make that a lot more statement.
yes.
Okay.
We just have to say that we will take the money. That's my understanding.
When we did that, it's paperwork after paperwork,
I believe it was a July 15th deadline that all towns that wanted that money had to say yes by, right? Which is probably.
That is what we're
Yes.
doing here
That's what
tonight.
most-
Well, that's what Darlene has already done, I would
No.
say.
No, we had,
It is not.
this is the motion tonight for July 15th.
Darlene did that, but we also then have to pass these 3 resolutions by the 15th, and it's the 15th, so.
So then when does the paperwork get submitted that says what you use it for? So I'm
It is-
trying to understand the timeline.
I don't know when the paperwork has to be in for that, but.
Okay, but that's not the 15th dedeadline.
That is not.
Okay.
This is the only thing that we have to do by the 15th, is say, yes, we'll take care of 3 months. So, 2 other things, we have 2 contracts here, one from the Sheriff's Department. I'll make a motion that I sign that.
David?
Yeah.
Before you sign that,
All right.
is there any way that you can increase their hours for this town? Because I'll tell you, the day we was down fixing mailboxes and the day Kyla and I was down cutting grass, them cars are going out this wall road way over 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, And
Way
then
over
flying by
50.
my house way over 50 miles an hour.
I have spoke to the sheriff directly about that, and he said that he would work on that to get people out here.
Yeah, well, and the
certainly
other
on
thing is-
Brookline Road.
I don't know what's going on with, I don't think there's more than 5 cars in Athens that have a muffler on. They go up and down Mill Hill, you must have them. They go up and down Mill Hill, they come down the bottom of Mill Hill and up through by Witchy, and you swear to God you was in Claremont Racetrack. Because I don't, like I said, I don't think there's more than 5 cars that have mufflers on in Athens.
It may not be the mufflers, it may be the catalytic converters. that they
It's
don't
something,
have.
because boy, I've done it, the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's got bad.
There's one that races around the, I call it the Gold, the Cemetery Road, late at night. I
Oh.
see them.
I know
I know who it
there's
is.
a huge truck that goes past my house,
Yeah, they race like
sometimes
all night long.
11 o'clock at night, screaming.
I'm not sure we're gonna get the sheriff out there at 11 o'clock tonight, but,
I want to propose that we. As someone who walks on that road, it's like dangerous.
all right. So I will make a motion that that I sign the agreement with the sheriff's department on the contract that we, and for the amount that we appropriated.
And how many hours does that break down to?
I don't know how many hours that is.
Is it still paying for itself?
No.
In the fine?
No, but almost. I mean, we had what, like 3,000 in fines or something?
I don't know.
We get at least 50% of it back, probably. Is there a second to that?
I second it.
So far in civil fines, we've gotten $947
That's since January.
since January, correct. So we've gotten, we were thinking we were gonna get around $2,000, so we're about 47%, so almost half of what we were thinking we were gonna get in. But the contract is more than 2,000,
Right.
so it doesn't, pays for almost half.
All right, all those in favor of signing the sheriff's contract?
Aye.
Aye.
And it is a contract based on the hours that they're here. If they increase the hours, then we'll have to pay them more money. It's not an open-ended contract
It is
where we
not
just pay them a
open-ended.
yearly fee and.
Well, we pay them so much a month.
So much a month for so many hours per month. It's not like we can add more hours and it would be costing
Each
more.
contract
Yeah,
is
well.
shared with the company.
But there's been months when you don't see a sheriff in town.
They have, I think they send us, don't they, when they're out here?
On the back of the, not the contract, on the back of the
The monthly
invoice.
report, yeah. And then there's a contract with the Humane Society if we have to impound animals. I will make the motion that we sign that.
Is that still Springfield?
No,
No, it was
Brattleboro.
Brattleboro last year, and that was, I think, $350.
A year, yeah.
yes. And that only allows us to do it, that
Then we
doesn't
still need
say.
to pay for the animals if we had to.
All right, is there, you seconded it?
I second it.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Because if we don't sign a contract and we have to put a dog in the Humane Society for whatever reason, they wouldn't have to accept it.
We have to have a place to board
Yeah.
animals. All right, then we go on to town meeting. I know that we're going to be, at some point, we're going to be having a special meeting for the school. We have to have another vote on that.
Is that in August, I think?
August 31st.
Yeah. And some people have, a couple of people have talked to me about having town meeting like we did this year with Australian ballots. But to do that, we would have to vote at a regular town meeting about that. Is that something that we want to go forward with, to look at?
I would think so.
because we got a lot more participation this year than we normally do.
So that would be on a permanent basis, so we wouldn't have town meeting?
We would have town meeting, but it would be, the elections would be by Australian ballot. So there would still be articles that we would go through, we would still have the discussions, but the voting would be done for.
But anything you're voting on Australian ballot, you can't have discussion for.
No, but for the election of officers, you would do that, you could, and you can discuss the budget issues at the town meeting.
Not if you're voting on the Australian ballot.
Yes, you can.
Because I was always under the impression that if something was Australian ballot, you could not discuss it at town meeting.
You can discuss the issue at town meeting, yes.
You probably couldn't amend it.
You could not amend it, no. It could be voted up or down, but, I mean, is that something we want to do? I mean, I know that, you know, the state has passed the bill so that we can use mail-in voting more for general elections and primary elections, to be able to include more people in the process. And that would be my only thinking, is that if we go to an Australian ballot, that it would be bringing more people in, giving more people a voice in it than it would the old way of doing it. I mean, probably if we hadn't have had to have done it this year, you know, we would have probably said, oh, we don't want to change town meeting, but we changed it, and a lot more people participated than normal.
I had a conversation with the Secretary of State after the elections because there were some issues. And there was a lot of things that we as a town did that were incorrect and illegal. So if we're going to do it again, it needs to be by the book. Because there was ballots brought in, multiple people brought in multiple ballots, which they should not have done. The ballots should have been counted that night, which they were not.
That's true.
And so if we're going to do it again, it needs to be by the book.
Yeah.
So.
I would agree with that.
I love that we had more people participate, but we had a lot of, I helped count the ballots, and we had a lot of misinformed people that were voting on stuff that they did not have all the information. Just from how they voted, Lynn Morgan was already had a chair seat, not a chair seat, a seat on the school board,
And
they still voted her in. To me, that was people just not being informed. And when we come together at a town meeting in person, I feel like people are more informed about what's going on.
Yeah,
There was a lot of, I think, I mean, I know you had the online pre-town meeting, but a lot of people in this town do not have access to the computers, or they just don't know how to get onto a Zoom meeting. I mean, I don't know how anybody else felt, but I was and not including all the illegal stuff that went on. I was very disappointed that we did not have it in person. I just feel like it was a very uninformed voting for our town this year.
Well,
I mean, if we can change it to a Saturday or an evening to do an in-person where all these people that came in to vote can come to the in-person, then that's great, because it was great to have more people in town involved in the decisions, but I feel like there was just they were misinformed on a lot of things. They either didn't.
I would agree that this year, certainly with the pandemic, was different and not a great situation all the way around. But hopefully we will be able to have a town meeting next year. But this would be a way for more people to be able to vote, be able to participate in it. Kristen?
So my concern is what makes Vermont town meeting different than any other kind of town hall in the country is that at town meeting, individual citizens essentially get to become legislators. And that you get to propose things, talk about things, vote things down, vote things up. And I'm 27 and I've been at almost every town meeting for the past 20 years in some way. And it's really special what happens, you know, because there's a lot of times people aren't running for positions and they get nominated there and they get put in, or people who would have been written in get a decline it, or more importantly, the discussion that goes on about things. And that just, it's not, oh, you get to be informed before, but it's the actual conversation back and forth and amending things, not just, okay, we're gonna vote about this, because you know, there are people that you tell them something 50 times and it still won't stick, but it's the ability to amend proposals and walk through things that you just cannot have with an Australian ballot.
I'm not thinking that this would change that. I mean, there would still be town meeting, there would still be voting, there would still be discussions and stuff. But, you know, I'm not sold on it only to the fact that a lot more people participated this last year than.
Sure, and you can have, as Tina suggested, having it be later or on a Saturday, but if you have to print a ballot ahead of time, which you have to do in order to let people vote, you can't amend it and have those conversations and add people and take them off. They have to be done in advance. And so I think there are lots of ways to expand. Perhaps the Athenian could do polls or something like that about when people are available. But we need to have the ability to have citizens be legislators, which you don't get on an Australian ballot.
Yes, well, I understand that, and like I said, I don't think that if it hadn't had to be this way this year,
right.
I don't think we would even be having this discussion. I think everybody likes town meeting the way it is. We've tried it on Saturdays before. We didn't get any more people there than on a Tuesday meeting. It's just something to discuss and to see if people want to do that or think that, you know, it's not something that this board can do. It has to be a vote of the town to be able to do that. It'll have to be a town.
And I understand that, and I think we all agree that we want as many people to vote as possible. Again, I just want to reiterate that there's absolutely no way on a paper ballot that has to be printed you can have the amendment process.
That's true.
I think there's pros and cons, I think, to both. I'll just like maybe from my own experience, I think sort of to agree with what you were saying, that for example that the whole question about the money and should we be incorporating to taxes. I've spoken to my other friends in Athens, and nobody knew that was about the bathroom money, and they would have voted a different way if they had known about how the money was tied to the bathroom in the town garage. So I think that's sort of like a pro. If we had that in town meeting, I think that would have happened differently. Also, the benefit of an Australian ballot is, for example, I live between the Perrys and the Taylors, and the Perrys and the Taylors were both running for select board, and I got to be anonymous. And I didn't have to, in a town meeting, be like, here is how I'm gonna be in this conflict now. So I think there's pros to both things, and I just want us to also consider that it doesn't have to be all one way or all the other.
Yeah, I don't think we're talking all one way or the other. If we did put this up to a town vote, I don't think it wouldn't be to eliminate town meeting. There would still be town meeting, but
you don't have to go if that's how you vote, and that's what happened this year. Was we had the pre-town meeting thing that we had before. Very few people attended, even though it was online at night and accessible. And then again, I would never say you have to attend something in order to, like a pre-meeting in order to be able to vote. But that doesn't happen, like if we just had town meeting in the morning and then you could just show up and vote anytime during the day, you have the exact same problem that you had this year with people not knowing about the bathrooms. And again, not to beat a dead horse, but the amendment process and bringing things up is really important, which you just cannot recreate on paper.
no,
And then about the anonymous voting thing, at town meetings, if they do a voice vote, or you can also request to vote by ballot. So you don't, yeah, so
it is anonymous.
It's an option.
No, well, no,
Not by
but,
ballot, but paper.
By paper.
but
By
to
paper.
elect anybody, you have to do that by ballot. You can't do that by voice vote.
Right.
You have to do that by secret ballot.
Right, so
Now, if
that's
there's
what,
only one candidate, you say, have the town
right,
clerk.
but he said he
He's
didn't want to raise his hand.
and say,
And
I
so
vote.
that's not how it happens anyways.
Okay.
That's not
Appreciate
how,
that.
well, some
Yes,
of the,
sometimes
some of
yes
the
and
articles,
sometimes no.
yes.
Depends.
specials and all. So that's something just to, you know, bring up that we, you know, can consider and maybe bring it before the town to,
As far as I know, and I could be wrong, but if something is on Australian ballot, there should not be discussion. So that is something that we have to look into, because as far as I know, Australian ballot is Australian ballot and there is no discussion.
So what you're talking about, go back to the bathroom situation. If we were voting on whether to give that money back to the town or keep it in a bathroom fund and it was on an Australian, we could not discuss that at all?
As far as I know, David's saying, yes, you can discuss items that are on Australian ballot. I believe that has to be done in a pre-town meeting. At the town meeting, whatever is Australian ballot, there is no discussion on.
Is there a rule to how far in advance the ballots have to be printed?
yes.
Yes.
So then again, that goes to, you can't discuss or amend things.
Well, you can't amend them, no. If it's on the ballot, if it's an Australian ballot, you can't amend it, you can vote it up or down.
Right.
So,
Darlene, how many people show up after town meeting to vote on the school stuff? Like after town meeting, you leave it open to vote on school?
Till 7
Until
o'clock.
like 7?
Till 7.
Do you have much of a turnout?
We had a really good turnout this year.
Yeah, but like in the past,
Going
in the past,
past,
yeah,
in the
see,
past,
people aren't gonna show up anyway.
I would also like to point out though that this was the highest election turnout ever in the history of the United States. And so we can, and then there was also very contested town seat positions. And so I would like to point out that I don't think that the number of people who turned out this year should be the basis for saying it's because we did it. You know, you had the largest turnout ever in the country, and then also very contested town seats. So I don't think I think we're looking at correlation, not necessarily causation there.
Well, you're talking March and November too, which are two.
Yeah, but this year, just like the political.
Those are two different, you know.
No, but
November's-
I know they're two different things, but just like the political climate this year was just such an anomaly compared to any other time.
All right.
So David,
So it's not something that we're gonna necessarily do tonight, but it's something that I thought we should discuss and think about, as to moving forward. Yeah, sure.
so if you're suggesting that this might possibly be part of the August 31st special meeting for the school, is that what you're suggesting?
Well, it doesn't have to be. It would have to be a special town meeting.
Right.
Or we put it on, the town meeting in March, to have it done like that. Go
But I
forward.
would think that there are also timeframes that are imposed on this. If you're wanting to put this before the voters on August 31st,
Yes.
then you need to
But-
decide what it
but-
is you're putting before them and do
but-
a time frame to do that.
But the August 31st, I believe, is Australian ballot itself, and this can't be settled at an Australian
Okay.
ballot.
Okay.
All right, so we'll move on from that, unless anybody else got anything? No?
No, so at our August meeting, we'll discuss it more.
We can. That is what we do.
I was hoping we'd have it settled tonight. I'd like to see it on the August 31st, even if it's just for the officials.
I'm not willing to vote on it tonight until I know for sure if you can have discussion of something that's on Australian ballot.
Okay. You can- But you can decide what you want to have for discussion too, in that, what you want for Australian ballot. If you want everything to be on Australian ballot, which I wouldn't think we would, or if you want officers, or if you want officers in budget, you can set it up how you want, or the town meeting, a special town meeting can set it up how they want it, so. So, it's just
Now, is
food for
the-
thought, and if we can always call a special town meeting, it doesn't have to be with the August one. But I don't wanna, you know, I know that people have mentioned it, that we had a lot of turnout, and we can go forward with talking about it more and have another special meeting, a special town meeting if we want, or not, or have it at the regular town meeting next year.
I mean, I know that there was people signing up to get ballots the week of the election. Multiple people. And they were people that have lived in this town for a very, very long time and have never voted in their life. Are they gonna vote again? I don't know.
But you can always change it back
Yes.
by a town vote. You
Yes.
can,
Well, like I said, I'm not willing to vote on it until I know 100% for sure that you can have a discussion if you have things on our study.
But it also go back to, we can have all the discussion we want, but if we want to make an amendment, we can't make an amendment on an Australian ballot. Like with the budget or something, we want to amend some money that's not, that we want to go towards somewhere else or not back into the budget, back to the bathroom. I hate to keep bringing that up, but we could have made an amendment that that bathroom money stays in a special account until we raise more money for the bathroom. But because it was on the Australian ballot, it was a yes or no vote.
And if it was
So-
no, it would have stayed in the.
Right, but again, like Richie said, he's talked to several people in town, and they didn't understand that that money was supposed to go to where it was supposed to go.
Yep.
And if we had had that discussion, and it was still Australian ballot, we couldn't have amended.
Good enough, no, if it was on Australian ballot. Sure.
I would just like to make another point on this, with regards to electing officers through Australian ballot, that this year was a special circumstance, and all that was needed was to come in and put sign your name on a consent form, to put your name on the ballot.
Yes.
That will not apply in the future, and it would require petitions. So what I'm concerned about, I mean, I think that there's a real good argument for putting the select board, perhaps some of the other, like, most significant leadership positions in town up for election on an Australian ballot. But I'm concerned that if you were to look at all of the lower, committee members, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you're asking people to go through a petition process in advance to get their names on ballots.
You know how many signatures it takes to get on the ballot?
No, I know it's not that many, but it's
3.
only 3. Huh. But it still is a process. And it's hoops to jump through. It would be really nice if it could be what it was this year, to make it, easy for people to say, hey, yeah, put my name in. But I do like the fact that we had, how many people voted, Darlene? Do you know roughly off the top of your head?
I think it was around 193 or something.
Right,
like that.
and typically a town, I can't remember since '93 being at a town meeting that had much more than 70 people at it.
70, 80.
And those are unusual, it's usually more like 50.
Yeah.
So,
I just feel like we have a hard time getting people to participate and wanting to be an officer or wanting to be on a committee already. And then if they have to go through another step, even though it's only 3 people to sign the paper, it's already so hard to get people to participate in anything in town. It's just one more step, and I think more people will not want to participate in even being on like the lower committees, like, the Meeting House Committee or the Campbell Fund. Well, I know, but it's not, what I mean. It's not a selectman. Sorry, Sherry. But I just feel like it's handicapping us for more participation.
All right.
And if people show up to town meeting, then they want to be involved. Somebody could walk in here and, okay, I'll put my name on it, but then they don't want to, they just put their name on the ballot. If they actually make the effort to show up and sit there for 6 hours.
Denise, are you speaking with the Secretary of State about I'm really curious about the not being able to have discussions for an Australian ballot? Like, are you looking into that? Is someone from the town looking into that?
We will look into that.
Why don't you do that, Denise?
Yes.
All right, we'll move on from that. It's getting hot in here. Everything's going by. The next
Tax rate.
issues of tax rate.
I have it right here.
I'll make the motion that it's $1.50, we set the tax rate at $1.15 for the town tax rate. The school tax rates for homestead will be 15750, and the non-homestead is 1.4446. And I make the motion for $1.15 for the town tax rate. Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye.
Is that up from last year or?
Down,
Down.
down 6 cents.
6 cents.
Well, the town tax rate's down, the school is up, but a little.
Just by a penny. But overall, it's 6 cents difference. That's down.
Yeah, the town rate is down.
Do we know what the CLA is for this year?
Don't, we had the
We
figure,
have the figure in the file.
it was 100 and something percent.
Oh, so it's
It is,
good.
still is. So did we vote on that? All those in favor of saying the tax rate of $1.15?
Aye, aye.
Alright.
And I know that, actually, this is not on the agenda, but it has to do with the taxes. Because taxes were extended in April, is our taxes, town taxes still gonna be due in September?
Yes.
They'll be able to have everything in, to have them go out in September? Okay.
Yeah, we set the tax rate now.
Set the tax rate, we're planning on working on the taxes on Monday.
Perfect. And all of the homestead and all that stuff is gonna be,
We'll always have a few that's filed late.
okay. So I would just hate to have, because they didn't have to get their paperwork in
Right.
until May, right? Because it was moved from April 15th to May 15th. If the town, if the state is going to have enough time to get everything to you,
Yeah, we
because
have
I
a
would
list
rather,
of- We have a list of
okay.
homesteaders already.
All right, so yeah, it will be the 15th like it is.
No, the 9th, the 10th.
10th, yeah, the 10th of September. All right, warrants and mail.
I haven't.
You haven't done that?
I've been busy. It's kind of rude to look at the warrants when people are talking.
Well, that's. I will contact him on that.
Okay, so,
I will contact him on that.
Good.
Tom has brought in the estimates for the repair of the wall there and stuff. I contacted VLCT on that, about putting a claim in, to them. They have not got back to me yet, about that, but I will forward these to them, about for the repair of the wall there, and we will go through them to go with that. That reasonable with you, Tom?
Yep.
Are we missing some timesheets? Because these aren't the same weeks.
Was the one that Matt was on vacation.
Because he still had to put a timesheet in. What week was he on vacation?
Last week.
Usually they're, okay, because look, here's 6/21, 7/2.
So usually on the back.
And then 6/21, 6/24.
On 6 on the 7.
7/2. So he must have been on vacation then.
Get that. I think it's some back. Put one of the minutes.
Yeah.
Well, so who were doing stuff together?
That's why the floor didn't drop.
We were supposed to do them tonight, but I didn't receive any bids.
You put it out last month.
Yeah, I know, that's what the bill is for, and I thought it was supposed to be.
Didn't get any.
We didn't get any.
Well, I guess then we don't need sand this winter. So what do you do in that case?
Matt said he would call around. We have to redo it.
We don't need it right now, but we will.
Who did you send the bid forms out to?
You don't send forms out, we put
You
it
just
out
put it in
on
the paper and
Yeah.
say you're looking for.
Yeah.
Who did we get it in the past from?
Palmer Goodrich.
Yeah, and Basin Brothers did get one year, and
Palmer Goodrich don't get the paper from down this way, that's why they get a bid from there. I used to have to call them down when I was up there.
okay.
And Butcher Wilson, he went out of business.
Yeah, I would say Butch
He
Wilson.
sold everything.
Yeah.
He's actually moved to Maine.
Oh, has he?
Yep.
Is there soft salt, haven't they put in bids for the sand too before now?
They have bid in it before. Them, Basin Brothers, Wickham, Lane. I'm surprised that, Josh Perry didn't bid on it, cause he's been running around all the towns around it. Giving them prices.
Even if they didn't see it in the paper, or, I don't know.
Do you do the salt bids at the same time?
No. Salt bids, we don't need to put out, get a,
They just send it.
they just send us.
That's all done on daily merchant.
Yeah.
You got two salt companies.
What is the audit adjustment based on for these?
Every year, we have to send in, I have to send them, well, they used to come down and do it, but now I have to send it in, all the payroll records,
Uh-huh.
and they audit it.
And then we pay extra depending on what our payroll is.
It depends on our payroll, either they pay us some back, or we have to pay them.
This year we have to pay that, huh?
Yeah.
And that's done every year?
Yes. Yes, because of the internet.
Yeah,
Internet's not cheap.
I know. Is that cheaper than Comcast?
Comcast, we don't have to pay anything.
Yeah. But they only do it one building.
Oh,
Right.
this one's through retail. This one,
Yeah, that's the $350.
Okay.
I signed, well, I signed the one they gave to Carolyn. This will be one for our record.
Yeah.
Oh, something.
So,
Oh, there you go.
according to this, these fines are not big ones.
Well, it takes time. If you let it to this month, it may be 6 months before you go to court to pay your fine. Or if you don't pay it, then you get suspended, and then you pay it.
So this is
for the year.
another $1,000. So, if you get that, that'd be nice.
So it depends on whether they go to court, whether they fight it, whether they just ignore it.
So did we get all the culverts we were thinking about getting? Do you know?
I think so.
I believe we did.
Good. I have
David, I see you got a bunch of culverts over there. You got culverts going out for bid this year?
To put them in,
Yeah.
I believe we bought those only because the culvert company reneged on their bid price to the state and said they were not going to do that, and the price of the culverts were going up, so we bid on those we bought those to save some money in the future.
And they did go up. 15-inch culvert now, over $300. 18-inch culvert's probably around $450, almost $500.
So that's why we bought those, was to put them there. I'm not sure that we've got any that are going in. All right, we'll move on to roads. That's not here.
I have a,
Yep.
so the under drain in Brookline is working good, and they have 2 more segments to go on it. They're starting the grants and aid project for the stone line, the ditches. Everything else is in good order. Waiting to hear back. Yeah, we mentioned that last month, the open road mold.
Is the prices just for the extended warranty, or is there a problem?
No, there's no problem. We just want to get, because the last meeting we discussed, getting prices for, getting the new backhoe before time was up.
Yeah, that white Caterpillar was down here last week, looking at this one.
Yeah, it's to get it, it's see what it's gonna cost to get the warranty for it, so.
And where are they stone mining with the new grant?
I don't know.
Bemis Hill
Bemis
needs it, I think, is there someplace in Brookline Road, down in Hedgehog that needs it?
I wasn't
Believe-
sure, but
Oh, it's probably down there.
Yeah, I saw someone down there.
Yeah, they blasted the ledges there, but I think there's some stone mining that they had to do there.
I'm surprised they're making you do Bemis Hill. It's gotta be for the grade, because that don't go into a regular bill.
No, but that's what when the woman came down, they said that,
So it's gotta be the steepness is what's doing it.
don't know, but that's, she had, the woman that came and did the survey was the one that said that, so. All right, anything else for roads? Denise?
Not really roads, but I just remembered that I had asked about trees being taken down, that old maple being taken down, and Matt wasn't here last month, and he's not here again. I think you were gonna have a conversation about it. Did that happen?
Yeah, I actually forgot all about that, but I will talk to him and we will try and get that down.
There's another tree that you probably ought to look at. It's right out past Janet's driveway, about 8, 9, 10 trees down from where you go down into the first trail pack on this end.
Okay.
I think it's right behind,
On which side of the road? That side or
it's
this?
on the trail pack side. If you go out and look, there's a tree that broke off, hanging there, headed for Bruce Denny's trailer.
Okay.
It's in the town right away, so you know when it hits that trailer, you're gonna buy it. Matthew knows about it, I showed it to him a year ago.
I will bring it up to him.
I think the only way to get it down is you're gonna have to get a crane.
You think?
Oh, I think so. It's so tender, I wouldn't touch it, it'll land it on that trailer. It's right, if you're coming back this way from Tenny's Bridge,
Yep.
I think it's right over top of the second trailer coming this way. You look up in there, it's about 8, 10 feet high. It goes right off and it's, I don't know what's holding there, it's just hanging there.
There's no wires on that side, right?
There's no wire down to there.
We'll have a look, and we'll ask him about that. And the one at the meeting house too.
Too bad there was no wires, we could just call King Mountain and have that.
Yeah.
And the chipper has still not been repaired?
Has not been repaired.
Are you gonna repair it or are you gonna, do you wanna sell it? I know somebody's looking for one.
I mean, right now we have, there's quite a bit of money to put into it, even though it's not fixed yet. Right?
But the road foreman says you can't buy an engine for it.
Maybe we should have him in to discuss whether you can get an engine for it or not, or what. do. I would think you could, I would think you could get an engine to fit that, but.
I mean, I know they've taken several journeys to go look for parts and pieces and this and that. And between the parts that they have purchased and their time putting into it and their travel time, it's well more than I think it's worth.
Have you priced chippers though?
They are pretty expensive, a new chipper would be certainly expensive, so.
A chipper like that, right there, probably 20,000.
Yeah, minimum, and that's used.
So, let's bring that up with Matt and see where we go with that. And we'll have him come to the next meeting and talk about that, the chipper.
Because the way it is right now, it ain't worth a hell of a lot.
Not the way it's sitting there. You're right.
Well, did it have a crack in the engine?
Yeah,
The thing with lots cracked in it.
Yeah.
Gordon, did you have something? You came in a little bit late there.
I need some green bags.
Darlene can do that for you here as soon as we can.
And I usually don't have any way of getting to these meetings because I have a lodge meeting in Bellows Falls that usually lasts a lot later.
Yep.
But we had no business to do this week, so I got here.
So you got here early.
To see what's going on too.
All right. Next thing, if nothing else for roads, I will make a motion to go into executive session to discuss a legal matter where premature public knowledge would place the town of Athens at a substantial disadvantage.
Can I also add a employee discussion?
An employment. All right, that's fine. Personnel matter. So for a legal matter and a personnel matter, and you second that?
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor?
All right?
All right.
Aye.